Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. So in today's video I wanted to show you how I made this Ebi Fry Plush, and believe it or not, I actually made this from a towel. So starting off with, I just took a lemon coloured hand towel, and I just bought this from Dunelm, and I think it cost me about £5, which I thought was pretty good considering this towel feels so super good. But you can also get seconds from there as well, which are slightly cheaper. I mean, if you already have a yellow towel, then that is absolutely great because this DIY will hardly cost you a thing. But I only have green towels, so I kind of couldn't use one that I already have. So what I did was just lay the towel out half, like on itself, like folded in half, and I just drew out a large oval shape about the size of 3 of my hands. And what I did was sewed on this oval shape with my sewing machine. Now if you don't have a sewing machine, you can hand sew this or glue it together like with fabric glue or hot glue, just whatever type glue you have. And you'll just want to make sure to leave a gap at the top so that you'll be able to turn this shape inside out. As you can see here, that's the gap I left, and I just made sure to cut off all the excess and just make little snips in the shape all the way around so that it would turn inside out kind of easily. So once I had my shape inside out, what I then did was moved on with a whole load of polyfill and just kind of stuffed up that shape. Now this is just toy stuffing that I'm using. You could use pillow stuffing, just any polyfill stuffing that you have. You could get this online for really cheap, or from like craft stores and stuff like that. I know Hobbycraft sell it in the UK, and yeah, you'll just want to stuff it like till it's completely like nice and dense and full. And this will take quite a lot of stuffing, like you won't realise how much stuffing that you'll need. I used about 4 times the size of this shape, and yeah, you just really want to pack it full and make it nice and kind of dense and full. So once your shape is completely full, you'll then want to move on and just kind of like wiggle all the stuffing inside to make sure that all the sides are really nice and kind of smooth, as sometimes when you put in a lot of toy stuffing, you will end up with like kind of lumpy edges and stuff like that, and that's just because once you put those little handfuls in, they kind of like ball up in themselves. So you just want to make sure that they're all nice and soft whilst you can still get your hand kind of inside the shape. So before sewing up this hole, you'll want to pop it down onto some red felt, and I just took an A4 sheet, just folded it in half and popped it just underneath that kind of hole bit. And I took a red marker pen and just drew out the rough kind of Ebi Fry shrimp tail shape. Now it didn't really show up well on camera because I used a red pen. I used a red pen so it wasn't that in your face, but I can understand here that it is kind of hard to tell. But this is the shape that I just drew, like kind of like a little tail shape, and I just sewed this round with my sewing machine, just one piece on top of the other to kind of thicken it out. So what I then did was pop this shape inside of that hole, and I just hand stitched this into place. So basically what I did was just pinned the front piece of towel into the red piece of felt and back through to the other piece of towel. And then I took my needle and thread and just made sure to thread through the first piece of towel, the red piece and the yellow piece, and just back and through those 3 pieces each time I did a stitch. Now this did take quite a time. It was about 20 minutes or something like that for me to get it fully secure. I just went back and forth one way up the plush, and I went all the way back down so that I was left with a nice secure finish. So next, moving on to the eyes, I decided to stitch them on, and I'm not sure if this was a mistake or not, but basically I wanted a nice high quality finish. Like, I didn't want to paint them on and I didn't want to kind of stick them on or anything like that. I wanted it to be really part of the plush, so I decided to kind of stitch these on, and honestly it took forever. Like, this first eye took about half an hour to do one eye. I mean, the second one took a little bit quicker because I wasn't filming it, maybe about 20 minutes, but oh my goodness, it just took so long because the bits like of the thread and stuff kept getting caught in the towel. But I got there eventually, and it was just a case of going back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. So I flipped on a YouTube video and just watched that, and I just kind of just sewed away whilst I was just watching YouTube. So once you have your first eye done, you'll then want to move on and do the second. I did this off camera as it just took so long. And then what I did was I went back in with the same colour thread again, which of course is a dark brown. And I just did the little mouth section in between those two eyes. I did two kind of threads like of a line shape. And then I did loads of stitches over this to make this into a thicker shape. And I then did some long lines again to kind of encase that all in and make it nice and neat. So once all the face was embroidered on, I then moved on to making the arms and the little feet. So what I did was took like the edging bit of the towel down the bottom, just because this was quite a nice space and I didn't know what else I would use it for, and I just drew out 4 kind of half circle shapes and sewed these around with my sewing machine again. As I said before, you can use hand sewing or fabric glue in this case. But basically what I did was just cut these shapes out, made little slips in them and turned them inside out. I did actually leave the seam of the towel on this so that I didn't have to fiddle around with kind of like sewing that bit off, so there was no like offcuts. I just kind of kept it as it was, and I just stuffed this shape and folded those seams inwards so that you couldn't see them anymore. What I then did was took some yellow thread again and just kind of stitched these shapes up so that I was left with a little hand, and I did this 4 times to make 2 arms and 2 little legs. Next I needed to move on and attach these, so taking some yellow thread again, I just pulled it into the plush and then popped loads of stitches on that flat edge that we just sewed up on the little hand, and I just went back and forth and just sewed it so it was really secure, as nobody wants to lose an arm. Like that's really horrible, so I just sewed it on really tight to make sure that it was going nowhere. To make sure that they stayed in the right place, I also made a couple stitches on kind of like the rounded bit of each hand, just to kind of keep them in the direction that I wanted them, like facing inwards, to make it look like it was kind of like hugging or whatever, but I just kind of stitched this down to the plushie also. I did this on both of the arms and both of the legs. So once all the arms and legs and stuff were all attached, my plushie was then complete. Now I'm not gonna lie, I absolutely love how this plush turned out. Like, I love the Ebi Fry from Sumiko Garashi so much, I just had to make a plushie of it. So tomorrow's video will have my annoying face in it, just a disclaimer, I am super annoying, so yeah, I do apologise for that. So yeah, if you want to watch that video, please hang around and click that subscribe button, and I'll see you in tomorrow's video. Bye!